Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Life at Home, in my home. But in all seriousness, you're probably wondering what's going on. In light of all the new COVID guidelines and regulations set forth by the state of Ohio and Ohio State, we are doing our absolute best here to keep everyone safe and to abide by these very important guidelines. And so everything you are going to be watching tonight is in fact pre-recorded, hence why I'm in my humble abode. So things are going to look different tonight, but we are still super excited for this to still be a place where we can connect with each other and connect with God. And we have some really fun and exciting things to share with you this evening. And so super excited for that. But because the Real Life Band is so awesome, they have been recording all of our previous worship sessions from this semester. And so tonight we are going to get things kicked off with some worship from them.
Hey guys, welcome to Real Life. Go ahead and worship with us however you'd like to tonight.
right. Thank you so much, Real Life Band. We're super appreciative of all the work that you guys put in behind the scenes. You guys truly are the best. So as I said, my name is Gracie and this is Real Life at Home. Real Life is a place where students bring students to learn more about God, who He says we are, and how that impacts our lives. So I'm very excited that you are here with us this evening, tuning in, and we've got some really fun, exciting things to share with you guys. So thank you so much for being here. So to get things started off tonight, we are going to kind of circle back to something we started a few months ago at the beginning of our semester. And that was our 24/7 prayer initiative. So the idea behind this was that throughout all hours of the day, every single day of the week, we would have students covering our campus, our movement, and honestly just our world in prayer. And so as we're wrapping up the semester, that's really, really what we want to be doing right now. And so if you are interested in signing up for a slot, or you want to remember what slot you signed up for a couple months ago, you can head to our website, crewohiostate.com/prayer, and you can check out that Excel sheet there. So just a little reminder there for you guys. So be sure to check that out. And so every week here at Real Life, we have the opportunity to hear from one of the students in our movement about how God has moved in their life, what He's done. And it's just a really awesome time for, people to share their stories with us. And so this week it's going to look a little different. We're going to be having a student share her story with us in a little bit more of a poetic way, and something that we call spoken word. So I'm really excited to hear from her. We're going to be hearing from my wonderful friend, Emma Lane.
Depression was once described to me as the image of water weathering a rock, gradual but constant, being rushed over with waterfall force currents, catching one's breath so intermittently, unsure when the clearing will come. A drowning that, unless seen by someone who's been there, is hard to identify. It was slightly over a year ago that I found myself pulled under the current so quickly that by the time I found my footing, I was already under. I've been a swimmer since I was 7, so keeping myself afloat didn't seem too hard. But after treading for a few days, a few weeks, the desire to stay afloat started escaping me. You see, when you put all your energy towards keeping your head above the water, it becomes difficult to do much else. It's a matter of choosing between life and death. Death to me came in the form of pleasing others, holding up an image of strength and superiority. It was only a matter of time before that mask I worked so hard to always have perfectly painted on began washing away. My arms and legs grew tired of treading. No longer did I have the energy to grasp so tightly to the life I tried desperately to obtain. The standards that I thought, if reached, would give me life, would make me liked, would make me loved, were my security, and the rope that held me to them was fraying. Until one day, it finally broke. The crash came in the form of 4 a.m. tears, crying softly as to not be heard, pleading for a retreat, a rescue, something to save me from the pit of loneliness, a place where I felt nothing but ignored, not only from my peers, but strongly from the Lord. I felt like a porcelain mug that had been dropped on the floor, unable to do anything in my own power to piece myself back together. I was nothing. I had reached a point where I no longer wanted to believe the lies I had convinced myself were true. I didn't want to continue on feeling unloved. I needed to be saved again. Yet there I was, barely managing to keep my head above the water, all alone. I had drifted so far from where I thought I should have been that hope wasn't even a part of the question. So when I looked towards the horizon and saw the faint outline of a boat headed my direction, I was hesitant to wave. But to the depths of the unknown came people who loved me, who accepted me, who reminded me of the truth the Lord spoke about me, and who chose me, despite knowing the worst things about me. And while those hands that pulled me out of the water weren't the ones I originally let go of, I am learning that that is okay. From the safety of my boat, I'm now able to make trips back to that sea and sit comfortably in the same waters that once immobilized me. The Lord has given me eyes to see light in the darkness and a freedom to share about my struggles. No longer am I bound to the shame of my weaknesses or afraid of falling short of the standards He never even set for me. My name is not depression. It is not loss, not forgotten. My name is not independence. It's not my achievements nor my strengths. My name is Emma Lane, daughter of the living water, and this is my real life story.
Emmeline, thank you so much for your immense bravery and your amazing creativity. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us tonight. We are so grateful to know you and have you as a part of this movement. So if tonight is your first night with us, or you are ready to take that next step to get more involved, we would absolutely love to hear from you. So we have a survey that is going to be available to you right here. You can take a couple minutes, fill that out, ask any questions that you might have, get more involved in a small group. I know that we are approaching the end of the semester, but there is still time to get more involved. My very first Real Life was the last Real Life of the semester, so there's still time for you to get involved, and we would love to hear from you and help you do that. So go ahead, take a couple minutes, fill that survey out, and if you do that, you are going to be entered into winning a $10 Amazon gift card tonight. And so while you're doing that, go ahead and check out this video about a very exciting event that we have coming up that one of my jolliest friends is going to be telling us a little bit more about.
Are we good? Awesome. Hello, it is I, Santa. I've been recruited to help read a book today. I just wanted to welcome you all. I know what you're probably thinking. Santa, what's up with the beard? No shave November, actually. Mrs. Claus challenges me every year. It's a fun little game we like to play. Before we started, I did want to start off with some music to set the mood. Hey Google, play my favorite Christmas song.
Choose Theme Songs is only available for YouTube Music Premium members.
Oh. Hey
But you
Google
might
off!
like This station.
Go off with you. Oh, my bad. I must have forgot to pay again. But let's get started, shall we? 'Twas 2 weeks before Christmas Real Life, when all through the bleachers, not a student was stirring, not even the teachers. Our hands were folded in our laps with care, in hopes that the Buckeyes would soon be there. The face masks were nestled all snug on our faces, while visions of football danced in those spaces. Mrs. Claus in scarlet and I in gray had just settled in for a chilly game day. When out from the field there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my seat to see what was the matter, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With an unfamiliar driver so godly and macho, I knew in a moment that it must be Bacho. Back to your dorms, the time is growing near, for Christmas Real Life only comes about once a year. There were carols and worships and candlelight too, and talk about Jesus and how he loves you. Oh, it would be a pity to miss, so everyone come round, I'll take you immediately in this sleigh I found. That my eyes did see such a shock, for students started rushing to Bacho by flock. The sleigh lifted and twisted and swirled around. I thought any moment they'd be on the ground, but they flew up to the very top of the shoe, with a sleigh full of students and Bacho too. And then in the twinkling, the sleigh was out of sight, making its way towards the dorms on this cold winter's night. As I drew in my head, I was turning around. Down to campus Bacho went with a bound. He landed and soon on the oval was crowded, students running as Bacho shouted. To your homes, to the libraries, we mustn't be late. Everyone get ready, for Christmas Real Life will be great. Tell your friends, your neighbors, spread the word, but as your screens, be at your screens on December 3rd, my bad. Then Bacho turned with a twinkle in his eye, as he looked up to the treetops and then to the sky. And I heard him exclaim as he flew out of sight, Christmas Real Life is coming, and it will be a good night. Now, my friends, it will be. December 3rd, be back here, and we will have such a wonderful time celebrating for Christmas Real Life. My friends, I hope you have all a good night. It is I, Santa, signing off.
Oh my gosh, guys. Santa is absolutely right, though. Christmas Real Life is going to be a wonderful evening of reflecting on what God has done this semester, how he's been working in the midst of everything, and celebrating the birth of Jesus. So please be sure to mark your calendars for December 3rd and join us for that evening. We would absolutely love to have you. And so last week we talked a little bit about Cru's Winter Conference. And so while Cru's Winter Conference typically takes place at the end of December in Indianapolis, this year it's going to be taking place on February 5th and 6th virtually. The entire cost of the conference is only going to be $19, which includes all the talks in the conference and a winter conference swag box. And so you can Google Cru's Winter Conference. You can check out the link that we have in the chat right now, or you can go to our Instagram to get more information on how to sign up. It is going to be well worth the $19, so please mark your calendars, sign up as soon as possible. You will not want to miss it. And so this semester, we have been journeying through a series called The Good Life, which has really been diving into and looking at Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. And so this is our last week of this series. We're going to be wrapping up The Good Life tonight. And tonight we are going to be hearing from our one and only Cru West Campus staff member, Mr. Ben Akins.
Well, hello, my name is Ben Akins, and I've been on staff here at Ohio State for the last 18 years, most of which I've had the privilege of working with the men and women on West Campus. I just wanted to thank you all right now for watching this. Whether you're new to Real Life or have been here for a number of years, there are a lot of things that you could be doing with your time right now, and I'm so thankful that you've chosen to connect with us tonight. I know this year has looked a lot different than any of us ever would have imagined, but I'm so encouraged to see so many of you pressing in to the community that we have here in so many creative ways. And we pray that you will continue to feel loved and cared for and accepted here as we continue to navigate these uncertain times together. Tonight we're wrapping up our study of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount in a series we've entitled The Good Life. Last week, Katie Costello actually did an amazing job painting a picture of what it looks like to know Jesus in the midst of a broken world. If you didn't get a chance to watch or tune in last week, I'd strongly suggest you go back and look at it. But tonight we're looking at Jesus' closing words in the Sermon on the Mount, in which he talks about building our life on a firm foundation. So let me read our passage for tonight, which we find in Matthew 7, verses 24 through 29. It says, "Everyone who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, but it did not fall, because it has been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds beat on the house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it." And when Jesus finished these sayings, the crowd were astonished at his teaching, for he was teaching them as one who had authority and not as the scribes. So here we see Jesus challenging his listeners to not just hear his message, but to put it into action. Jesus is calling them to wisdom, and that wisdom requires action. If you're like me, it's easy to read one of these passages and see it merely as a call to live a better life, to do better, to strive to perform more like Jesus said we should. But that, however, would miss the whole point of Jesus' parable here. In 1 Corinthians 3, verses 10 and 11, the Apostle Paul, makes it very clear that the foundation that he built his ministry upon, and ultimately that we are built our lives upon, is Jesus. He says this, he says, "According to the grace given to me, like a skilled master builder, I laid a foundation, and someone else is building upon it. Let each one take care of how he builds upon it. For no one can lay a foundation other than that which is laid, which is Jesus Christ." See, Jesus is calling us to build the foundation of our lives on him. Our obedience and our action upon what he taught us is evidence of our trust and reliance on him. My wife Vanessa and I have shared our 17th wedding anniversary this summer. And over those 17 years, we've had the privilege of having and raising 4 amazing kids. Over the years, we've thought a lot about parenting and come to realize that what we want from our kids is not merely obedience. You see, their obedience can come from a lot of different motivations. It could come from fear of us as parents because we're bigger and stronger than them. It could come from not wanting to face the consequences of their actions. It could come from the desire to be loved more because of the right things that they do. However, obedience in and of itself will never do anything to change their hearts. The moment our children are outside of our control and making their own decisions, it will do nothing to help them live a wise life. What we want for our children is for them to obey us, not because they have to, but because they trust us. They trust the secure and loving relationship they have with us, and they believe that we're for them and not against them. Even if we're asking them to do things that they don't understand, they still obey because they have come to know and trust us and our character. And ultimately, we want our relationship with them, however imperfectly, to reflect the relationship that God offers them through Jesus Christ. So Jesus is the foundation, not a religion. We obey Jesus' words because of who he is, because we trust him. He's the Son of God who, as our passage says, is the one who speaks with authority. So John Stott, in his commentary on this passage, says this. He says, "Jesus came to destroy religion. Religion, if conceived as a human attempt to become acceptable to God by whatever system of beliefs and practice, is a beggar's refuge. It will not keep out the wind and the hail. What Jesus offers is totally different. It begins not from reaching up, but from God reaching down. It is not a religion at all, but a revelation and a rescue. Jesus is a revelation of what Jesus is like, of what God is like. Never has there been such a true likeness. The King has come to bring in the kingdom. He is no less than God's rescue mission for men and women lost in self-centeredness and sin." What Jesus is asking is not performance, but action grounded in faith and trust in him. Faith in the one who gave his life for you and now is instructing you how to live in wisdom and in truth. Jesus is the only foundation worth building our lives upon, and the only foundation that will ultimately hold. The 2 builders here that Jesus is talking about may both be living their lives looking good on the outside. However, only one is truly building their life on a firm foundation of Jesus. It's not, however, until the storms of life hit that foundation and the difference can clearly be seen. So as I read this passage, I'm reminded of 2 ministry partners that I had a few years back. As part of Crew, all of us are responsible for inviting others to prayerfully and financially support our ministry. And as expected, there's times when people need to discontinue their support for a variety of different reasons. This particular day, I was calling two of my supporters that had discontinued their support in order to thank them and just see how they were doing. In talking to them, I came to find out that both of them had recently lost their jobs and therefore had to discontinue their support. What struck me, however, in talking to them was the radically different way that each of them was dealing with that job loss. The first man I talked to was very anxious and fearful. He didn't know what he was going to do now. He didn't know where he was going to find employment or how he was going to pay his bills. His overall feeling of panic was very evident. He felt like his life was coming crumbling down upon him. The second man, however, responded much differently. He too had lost his job and was uncertain how he'd provide for his wife and 6 kids. However, he was very calm. He described the job loss as very unexpected, but God had never let him down before, and he knew that God would continue to provide for all his needs. He asked for prayer in finding a job, but even more so, he asked for prayer that God would use this challenge in his life and in his family's life to draw them closer to Christ. Here were 2 men. Both were professing Christians, both clearly involved in their church and in supporting missions, but the storms of life had helped to reveal what they were truly finding their foundation. So this year has been very challenging for all of us in so many different ways. Many of you right now maybe feel like you're going through a storm or multiple storms in your life. I know I am. If nothing else, we are finding that how uncertain so many things that seemingly seemed certain before actually are. So many things that we're tempted to build our lives upon may feel like they're shifting right beneath our feet. If you're like me, you're finding that there may be things going on inside of you that you've never faced before, or unpleasant actions coming out of you that you've never really struggled with much before. While we all need to take time to lament and grieve so many of the things going on in our world today, there also may be cracks that are revealing themselves in our character that may not have been evident before. How we deal with those things in this time or in future times of storms in our lives will be monumental in determining if we move towards wisdom or we move towards foolishness in our lives. When we moved into our house a number of years ago, we ended up needing to repaint most of the rooms. This allows us to prep the walls, to repair any dents or holes that there may have been from the previous owners. In our living room, we noticed a large crack above the dining room table that spanned the whole length of the room. We repaired that crack just like we had every other crack, and it looked great for a number of months. However, one morning I looked up and noticed that the crack was in exactly the same place, almost as if we had never fixed it at all. It was not until doing a little research and talking to some people that were more knowledgeable than us that we found that the crack was there because there was a problem with the foundation. We could fix the crack and paint over it as often as we wanted, but it would always come back. It was merely a symptom of a bigger problem. And until the foundation was fixed, the crack would never go away. Friends, that is how many of us are tempted to deal with the problems that are surfacing in our lives in the midst of the storm. We either work hard to spackle over it through increased self-effort or determination, or we merely replace the crack or embrace the crack as something that's just part of who we are. Inevitably, the crack will always come back and may even grow over time because, like the crack on our ceiling, it's just a symptom of a deeper problem, the symptom of an unstable and faulty foundation. So where do we go from here? If the proper response is not just to cover up or ignore our cracks, what's the proper response? How do we actually go about fixing the foundation? Friends, this is where the sweet and glorious truth of the gospel enters in. One of the reasons that it's so hard to look deeper into the cause of our cracks that we're seeing in our lives is it's difficult to admit that the cracks are actually originating from our hearts. We'd much rather blame others or minimize the problem rather than admit that we're actually part of the problem. We have built part of our lives on a faulty foundation. I would even argue that apart from the gospel, that it's nearly impossible to embrace or look at the darkest parts of who we are without being crushed by them. However, the precious gospel of Jesus, a gospel that's based not in our deservedness, but in Christ's sacrifice for us, allows us to look deeper into our lives and look at those things. In fact, viewed through the gospel lens, these cracks are actually further evidence of God's grace in our lives. In His grace, He's allowing us to see something that has always been there, but had previously been hidden. Something that we can now begin to give to Him. He allows us to look at the darkest parts of who we are, knowing that we are fully accepted. Not in spite of those things, but in the very midst of those things. And to begin to experience, although slow and many times painful, true healing in our lives. In a parallel passage to ours that's found in Luke 6, 47 through 48, Jesus says this. He says, "Everyone who comes to me and hears my words and does them, I will show you what he is like. He is like a man building a house, who dug deep and laid the foundation on the rock. And when the floods rose, the stream broke against the house, and it could not shake it, because it had been well built." So here Jesus adds the words "dug deep" when he describes the wise man and how he goes about building his house. And while the gospel allows us to dig deep into our own hearts, Jesus even more so is calling us to dig deep into who he really is and who we are in him. We must be diligent to seek and understand God, who he is, what he's like, what he says is true of us because we are in him. We must make it one of the primary aims of our life to work to make sure that our view and our understanding of him are true and accurate. Just as any other gospel other than the true gospel ultimately ceases to be good news, any view of God other than that which is true of God ceases to be a firm foundation for our lives. We need to regularly dig deep to make sure we're building our foundation on the true foundation. Our lives must be founded on the God that actually is, rather than a faulty view of God that we've created in our minds. Author A.W. Tozer, in his classic work, The Knowledge of the Holy, says this: "What comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us. A right conception of God is basic not only to systematic theology, but to practical Christian living as well. It is to worship what the foundation is to the temple. Where it is inadequate or out of plumb, the whole structure must sooner or later collapse. The heaviest obligation laying on the Christian church today is to purify and elevate her concept of God until once again is once more worthy of him and of her. In all her prayers and labors, this should have first place. We do the greatest service to the next generation of Christians by passing on to them undimmed and undiminished that noble concept of God, which we received from our Hebrew and Christian fathers of generations past. This will prove a greater value to them than anything that art and science can devise." Friends, if our view of God and who he has revealed himself to be in the person of Christ is too small or inaccurate, it is only a matter of time before that foundation will collapse. Over my many years on staff, there have been naturally a handful of students that have been actively involved in our movement that no longer are walking closely with Christ. Well, there's many reasons someone might walk away from their faith. One of the most common reasons I've seen is because there's some sort of storm in their life, and their view of God was just not big enough to be able to withstand the storm. Friends, storms in life are unfortunately inevitable, and many times they come quickly and without notice. Whether you're intentional about it or not, the foundation that you're building your life upon is the utmost importance and will ultimately be revealed in the storms. My prayer and challenge to you will be to prepare well for those storms. Dig deep and work diligently to build a foundation that's strong, one that's built on the solid rock of Jesus. Use these days in college not just to get an education, but to actively cultivate a view of God, a relationship with Him that is big enough to withstand whatever challenges might come your way. I want to close with a prayer from the Apostle Paul, which is found in Ephesians 3. Here Paul's praying that the believers in Ephesus, in the church of Ephesus, would be filled with the power of his Spirit, of God's Spirit. However, he doesn't pray that they'd be filled so they can accomplish some great work for God, as you might expect. He prays that they be filled so they would have the strength to comprehend the greatness of Christ's love for them. Who Christ is and his incredible love for us is the foundation that will stand in the midst of any storm. That is the foundation that allows us to look at the cracks in our lives and not be crushed by them, but willingly bring them to the one who died for us, to start to experience healing at a heart level. And that is the foundation that as we're spending every day of our lives digging deeper for. Let me pray Paul's prayer over us as we close. For this reason, I bow my knees before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and earth is named, that according to the riches of his glory, he may grant you to be strengthened with power through his Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, that you, being rooted and grounded in love, may have strength to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and length and height and depth, and to know the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled with all the fullness of God. Now to him who is able to do far more abundantly than we can ask or think, according to the power at work in us, to him be the glory in the church and in Jesus Christ throughout all generations, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you.
Can't go back to the beginning. Can't control what tomorrow will bring. But I know here in the middle is the place where you promised to be. Not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? As I walk down through the valley, let your love rise above every fear, like the sun shaping the shadow. In my weakness, your glory appears. Not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again?
Real Life Band, thank you so much for having those videos for us. That way, even when we can't be together physically, we can still come together and worship. And Ben, thank you so much for sharing with us and helping us wrap up our series on the good life this semester. So as a reminder, next week we are not going to be having Real Life Thanksgiving, but please be sure to tune in right here on YouTube Live December 3rd at 8 p.m. for our annual Christmas Real Life. It is going to be a very special evening and you do not want to miss out on it. Be sure to check out the chat right now for the winner for tonight's $10 Amazon gift card. That's all we have for you tonight, guys. Have a happy and safe Thanksgiving, and we will see you on December 3rd. And remember that you are loved.